When men go out, do they get met with those same kind of comments? Like, are people going to go and say, hey, buddy, I see you're going out to fish by yourself. Are you sure that's a good idea? Or do you know that snakes live in water in Alabama?
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. Before I get into introducing you to our special guest this week, a couple quick things. Number one, just got back from the Lady Bass Anglers Association Women's Pro Bass Tour Classic on Logan Martin in Alabama. It was a blast. Ended up being my best tournament of the year thus far. My first ever 3-day tournament. So going into the second day, I was in 7th place, which was exciting. Anything could happen from there. But day 3 proved to be a little bit tougher for me. I had found this really great special area in practice that I graphed it, and there were fish everywhere. I couldn't believe it. I cast one time and caught a fish immediately, and I was like, all right, I'm coming back to this during the tournament. I'm going to leave it alone. Took one day, didn't go back there, but then the following day I couldn't resist. I just had to go back and see if the fish were still there. And they were, and first cast again, caught a fish. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. They live here. So that's where we went on day 1. Got 3 fish from that spot pretty quickly. And then so we decided to go fish some other areas. And we ended up, both my co-angler and myself got our limits that day. So day 2 started in that hole. It was a lot slower on day 2, but still picked out 4 fish from that area. So didn't know if it was going to hold up for day 3 just because of how difficult it was on day 2. And Brooke Johnson, congrats to her. She was my co-angler for day 2. She did amazing. She ended up winning first place for the co-angler side. So great job, Brooke. Day 3, as I kind of suspected, that hole did not hold up at all. Got 1 fish out of it, and it wasn't a keeper, so we had to move around. It was raining, but had a really exciting net job. Dana Raybon was my co-angler for the 3rd day, and she caught a really nice largemouth that was jumping up out of the water. We were like, no, don't throw the hook off. We got it in the net. So that was exciting. It was just a fun all-around tournament. Love staying at Lakeside Landing RV Park right on the water. You'll hear about that a little bit today in this episode because we did an on-location interview with my guest, Kat Jones, Fancy Pants Fishing on Instagram, and you're going to love meeting her. Really exciting stuff, I think, coming for her, somebody who's relatively new to fishing, and so it's always cool to talk to somebody who has that new fire and excitement for the sport. So, and then the last announcement before we get into it is you guys pulled it off. We won 2nd year in a row for the best outdoor podcast with the Outdoor Media Summit. I'm actually getting ready to fly to Denver, and then from there, where the conference is going to be in Colorado. Really looking forward to it. I'm flying out next week, so I'll be in Colorado next week, and it's been many, many years since I've been there. So I'm looking forward to going to the summit, accepting the award from the 2019 awards, and then also they'll be making the official announcement for the 2020 winners on day 2 of the conference. So looking forward to all of that. Thanks so much for your support. You guys blow me away every time. So just really, really appreciate it. All right, without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Kat Jones, Fancy Pants Fishing. You're going to love her. Just to set the scene for you right now, I've got my guests that I'm going to introduce to you here in a second, but we are on location. Got the Lance Truck Camper Mobile Podcast Studio in the background. It's such a beautiful day. We wanted to do this outside. It's not too hot. The weather's nice and cool, a little breeze. You could probably hear it a little bit in the background. Sitting lakeside on Logan Martin. Just got here, got camp set up. And I don't know if you guys watch the Women's World of Fishing Monday Night Live shows that I do with Barbara Harris. But one person that I know that's been watching the show, because we see her comments come in on a pretty regular basis, is someone that goes by the name of Fancy Pants Fishing on Instagram. And she's really impressed Barbara for sure. And I'm pretty impressed too, getting to know a little bit about her story. So she just happens to live in the area. And so when, I knew we were coming down here, I thought, it'd be great to invite her out to the campsite here, right on Logan Martin Lake at Lakeside RV. G-Man actually recommended this place to me, said it was awesome. So I'm glad he did, because it is a beautiful view we've got here. And so, Kat Jones, Fancy Pants Fishing, thanks for coming out and taking some time to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy that it worked out and that I'm close enough to be here and that it's this beautiful in Alabama right now. It's
absolutely
unheard of.
I'm excited about fishing this week, I have to tell you, because you've probably listened to some of the episodes this year. We've just kind of had crazy weather for every tournament.
Yeah.
And it looks like this one's going to be decent.
It does.
Knock on wood.
Yeah,
You never know.
You never know. But yeah, it's looks like a gorgeous week.
I think the fishing's still going to be a little tough, but I think it's going to be better, at least for me, than all the previous tournaments. So I'm really excited to hopefully bring in some decent fish to weigh in.
There's some good ones in here, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, and for everyone listening, I can still get outside information today. Tomorrow starts the official day of practice, and after that, it's mum's the word. I can't get any kind of information, so don't worry about saying anything.
Okay.
But so have you fished this lake?
I have
much?
Actually only fished this lake. I have a friend who I grew up with, and she lives out here, and I have just fished from her dock a few times.
Okay.
So I haven't been out on the boat. My boyfriend has, and he really enjoys it, and we want to.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate in Alabama. We've got so many lakes. We kind of bebop around and try to spread the love.
Yeah. Have you fished Gunnersville yet?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the first time I fished Gunnersville, we hired Alex Davis and went out with him for the day and had a blast. And we were pulling in these 3.5 pound, 4
Nice.
pound largemouth out of the grass line. And it was like, oh, let's come back here next weekend. We come back the next weekend and just totally skunked.
Oh,
It
no.
was like, okay, there's something to this guide thing.
Well, but also, Gunnersville, it can be that way too, I've heard.
Yes.
I've not fished it myself yet. I've been out on it, but haven't actually fished it yet. But I have heard it can be good or bad.
We've fished it maybe 3 or 4 times now, and the only good day I had out there was the day we had Alex.
Yeah.
But
Well, that always helps, having somebody who's, goes out every day and knows the patterns and
absolutely
all that stuff. So tell listeners a little bit about your story, because I think that's so cool. You're relatively new to fishing.
I am. So my story is not like your typical, I grew up with grandma and grandpa fishing in the pond. Like mine kind of starts 2 years ago. My husband passed away, and I kind of went into this like survival mode, like going out, not making necessarily the best choices, maybe not being the best mom I could be. And one night happened to meet this guy, and I thought, this might be something fun. And so this was in January of 2020. So we started talking and started becoming closer, and then the pandemic hit. And so dating during a pandemic, you have to get a little creative. You can't, go out to dinner, and you can't go to the movies. And he had been an avid fisherman his whole life, growing up with his dad. They lived just minutes away from Smith Lake, which I'm sure you've probably fished there.
Haven't yet, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's incredible. So And his dad had also passed that August as well. And he had kind of lost touch with fishing because that was something that they did together. And my parents have a place on the Black Warrior River. And I invited him out there, and he was like, okay. And he brought some fishing poles and kind of threw around and caught a few little fish. And I was like, oh, that's cute. That's fun, you know. And the next time we go out, he was like, I have a surprise for you. And we go and we drive to Jasper, and we show up at his house, and we get his boat, and then we show up at the ramp and launch the boat, and it's dark outside, and we're putting on our life jackets, and he takes me fishing. We fish all night long. And that's what started it all. And what sealed the deal is in January, the following January, 2021 for New Year's, since we couldn't go do anything with the pandemic, we went to Wyeth Lake. We were going to go fish there. And I believe it was New Year's Day, we were listening to like the weekly fishing report. And they were like, oh, the smallmouth are biting at Pickwick. We were like,
I have fished Pickwick.
Yeah, okay. And I was like, what's this Pickwick? And David's like, oh, I've always wanted to catch a smallmouth. And I was like, well, let's go do it. And I was like, sure. So we pack up from Wyeth Lake and drive clear across Alabama to go to Pickwick and fish Pickwick, and caught that. My first smallmouth was a 4.5-pound smallmouth.
Nice.
And that was all she wrote. So ever since then, it's been like I just dove in head first.
Yeah. So you said in the last 6 months, it's really just been eat, sleep, breathe, fish for you whenever you have a moment.
Yeah. So I used to go out a lot and go to concerts, and my big thing was to wear these party pants, and like I love my party pants, and we're still in this pandemic, and I'm looking at my poor little party pants in the closet, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to wear them fishing.
There you go.
And we went out fishing one day, and I wore my pants, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. I was like, this needs to be fancy pants fishing. Like this needs to be a thing. And so Fancy Pants Fishing was born, and I went on Instagram, and my page just kind of exploded, and I got to meet all these people through Instagram, and just then it was like the addiction was on. The like, what fish can I find next? What lake can I find next? How can I fish? What are different ways I can fish? You know, and it's just been
that's so cool.
Head first.
I love it. Have you? Yeah, I know you're still very new and you're still exploring and finding different things. But have you found, like, do you have kind of something you're kind of leaning towards?
So I love bass fishing, but the way that I've learned to bass fish is from the boat, and the boat is David's. I can still bank fish and like catch a bass, which is fine, but so my ideal situation is going out with him on the bass boat and exploring a lake, but that's not, you know, with jobs and schedules, we don't get to do that as often. So I just find any way possible, and I've been finding myself in creeks, and I just got a float tube, and I've been floating creeks and catching little river fish. And I actually took the float tube out on the Warrior River last weekend and caught a nice largemouth bass from the float tube for the first time, and that was really exciting to do that. And actually this weekend, once we got the weather report that it was going to be this gorgeous, we decided we're going to go backpacking tomorrow.
Oh, fun.
And bringing some fishing equipment, and we're going to go backpacking and fishing, so that'll be yet another adventure.
That'll be cool. Are you the one that posted something I just read about fishing from a float tube and other women making comments about? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so this post, like that post blew up, but it was like my most commented on post. But so when I first got my float tube, I was like, I am going to take this thing out. I don't care what it's like. So I take it to a creek that's, 2 feet deep at best. And I'm like basically like moving. I couldn't even put my flippers on because there wasn't room to flip. But so I'm sitting in a spot and casting, and this woman goes, "Are you fishing?" And I was like, well, yes, I've got the fishing pole, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. And she said, well, "You're dreaming." And I was like, "What? Okay." I said, "Well, I've already caught half a dozen fish. They're not like huge trophy fish, but I've been catching these little red-eye bass, and it's fine." Then I reeled one in right in front of her, which felt really good. And then she was like, last week when I was walking right here, I saw a snake pretty much right where you are. And I was like, really? Right where I'm sitting. You saw a snake last week. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. This is their house, that kind of thing. And then I took the float tube out yesterday, and this woman approached me and she was like, wow, what is that? And I was talking to her about it, and she was like, well, aren't you meeting people? And I was like, no, I'm just going to go out there and fish. There's just this one little area, and there's kind of a put in here, and then 200 yards down, there's a put in. So it's like, I'm not going to get, it's not a dangerous situation. I'm not going for miles. And my boyfriend knows where I am. And she was like, oh, well, you could fall, you could hit your head. There's snakes. A water moccasin could bite you. And I was like, again, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's their house. Like, I'm going into their house. And so it got me thinking, like, when men go out, do they get met with those same kind of comments? Like, are people going to go and say, hey, buddy, I see you're going out to fish by yourself. Are you sure that's a good idea? Or do you know that snakes live in water in Alabama? So I just posed the question to Instagram out of curiosity, and everybody kind of filed in suit that they all sort of agreed that it definitely seems to be a bias, and that, we just keep doing what we're doing. And people were smart to say I should be more concerned with them asking me if I'm alone or not, and then I should say, no, I'm not alone. I am actually meeting somebody, whether I am or not. Right. Which I thought, that's a good point. I probably should remember that. But it's interesting to see those gender stereotypes.
I'm glad that people were kind of coming back with the general consensus, But it's funny, you made me think of a story talking about, are you alone? One time I was driving the boat by myself, this Freedom Boat Club, Center Console, Key West, 230 Bay Reef, and I was coming into the marina, and I was parking. It was like a busy Saturday, and I pull in the slip, I tie the boat off by myself, just like I normally do. And this lady comes up to me, and she's like, is this your boat? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, are you by yourself? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, she's like, okay, I need a ride. My friends just left, and they're right in the cove just outside the marina. Would you give me a ride out there? And I was kind of like, I thought it was her and another girlfriend, because there was this other lady standing by her, and I was like, okay, sure. I'm over here to do a tour for Freedom Boat Club, so it's going to be like probably 30 minutes if you can wait. And then I get done with the tour, I walk back over, and she's sitting at the restaurant next to this super sketchy looking, like, dude.
Ooh.
And he looked like he worked in the cartel or something.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, I don't know that this is such a good idea, but now I've already told her I'm going to give her a ride, but I had no idea that this crazy looking dude, scary looking dude was with her. And I was like, I walked in the Freedom Boat Club office. I'm like, guys, I don't know what I'm going to do. So one of the workers had some time, so he went with me, and he had like some mace and stuff with him just in case.
That's good.
We needed it.
That's really
but
good.
Yeah, that's when you're asked, are you by yourself, might not be such a good idea to say yes.
Yeah, like part of me wanted to be like, yeah, I am, and watch what I do.
Right,
like I can do this. And then when people commented about that, I was like, oh, yeah. Probably. But one thing I was thankful for is a lot of the comments coming in were from men anglers as well, who feel those same things, those same biases towards women. Like, not that they are biased, but they see those biases,
they see them,
and they think that it's ridiculous. So it was nice to have that support from the men anglers as well. It wasn't just this like women like, yeah, go girls, but to get that support from
cool.
both sides.
That's what I've seen too. This is like my third year doing the podcast. Just had the 200th episode recently.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, it's kind of surreal that, it's been a struggle. Some weeks I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I have the time to do another podcast episode, but I'm glad, it's definitely, I can tell it's making an impact, and so that's just enough for me to kind of push through on those weeks when it's tough. But just over the years, doing this podcast, we get just just as much support from men. Men love listening to the show just as much as women do, you know? And so that's
great.
just really cool to see so many great male supporters, and in the Women Angler and Adventure Facebook group, which are you?
I am a member, but you know, those algorithms, I need to participate in it so that it starts showing me. A bald eagle just flew by.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
awesome.
I just got so distracted by that.
That's so cool.
Here, there's his shadow. There he goes. Yep. Sorry, we don't get to see those often down here.
Very cool.
Sorry.
Love it. Love being in nature and being right on the lake. You can't beat this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great week.
It's perfect.
So let's talk about the fact that you're kind of maybe toying with or thinking about fishing with the LBAA at some point.
Yeah, so I, you know, it's so intimidating. I look at fishing and it's like, the thing I love about fishing is I don't think one fisherman in the world knows it all, because I just don't think you can.
Absolutely not.
There's just no way that, and so I feel like in a sense it's sort of a level playing field. Like each person can kind of hone in on their skill or their, you know, fishing style, and like you kind of have a chance to learn each thing, and there's never an end to the learning. And but there's a lot out there. So the thought of, you know, I mean, I've never even attended a tournament. I've never, you know, so finding that confidence and getting your head in the right place, all of that is...
I think that's the biggest key to it.
Yeah.
You know, like we've got ladies on the tour. One is incredibly skilled at skipping under docks. On a lake like this, bass love to hang out under the docks. That's one of the primary places that they like to hang. So she's got a huge advantage in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also ladies that are really great offshore anglers. There's going to be bass hanging out offshore on these humps and other structure, and she's got a huge advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like everybody has their thing, and whatever you have the most confidence in is like, that's what you need to focus on. And nobody's gonna be, some people can be very, very good at a lot of different things in fishing, like some of these guys, you know, like Mike Iaconelli and like some of these guys that consistently win tournaments and or do well, but they're never gonna be expert in everything. There's just way too many different things out there that you can do,
ever evolving and changing, and
new things coming out every day, new techniques.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you know, today I can learn about lines, tomorrow I can learn about rods, and like we haven't even gotten into the water yet, and there's, you know, plenty to learn.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But I also look at it, you know, if I were to co-angle, I look at it as almost going out with a guide. I mean, I know that's not
totally is,
and,
I think.
Yeah, and being able to learn from someone who is professional and get that exposure and learn how the tournaments work. I mean, it seems logical that would be an investment in learning. I mean, it'd be like taking a class, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a very good analogy for it, especially with a group like the LBAA, with these ladies that are so eager to welcome newcomers and also to help them learn too. Like Cassie Hall, did you watch that?
I did, and I actually reached out to her, and
good.
she's eager for me to meet her. She was like, please come say hey. And she actually lives super close to me in a town, like really close. So that was cool. And when y'all had Pam Martin Wells, I reached out to her, and she was super responsive and
awesome.
It's very, very, I can tell it's very supportive.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, when you're fishing, you're practice fishing or fishing the tournament, you know, they're definitely going to be focused on their own thing. But at the same time, you know, you'll be surprised how much you can learn even just by observing what they're doing and paying attention to their electronics. If they leave their graph on that you can see from the back of the boat, kind of pay attention. Okay, this is where we're at, this is the depth, you know, this is the technique she's using, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know when I'm fishing with David, a lot of times I'll just stop and watch him and just like see how he's moving his rod and see how quickly he's, you know, because he'll tell me slow retrieve, and I'm like, okay, like just how slow are we talking?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'll just stop and just kind of watch his retrieve, and I've been able to really learn a lot just watching, and doing and mimicking and.
Yep. That's a great way to do it. And I've said before, I kind of wish maybe I would have spent a little bit more time in the back of the boat, because I could learn so much from these ladies. But I've also found for myself that I also learn fast just kind of jumping in with both feet too.
Yeah,
so,
there's a lot to be said for that as well. I feel like for me, being so new to the sport, that even co-angling would be jumping in with both feet.
Well, yeah, and that is, it does take a certain amount of courage to just kind of, jump in at that level and learn. But lots of ladies have done it. Like Cassie said, she started out that way, and she's still at the back of the boat. Maybe one day she'll go to boater. She certainly has the skills to do so. It's just the circumstances aren't there right now. But it's nice to have that option, and it's not as big an investment. Right. You have to have your own boat and truck to pull it, and all the things that come along, with that. And I've been fortunate just to have a really great employer with Freedom Boat Club to support me with the boat, and Lance Truck Camper coming on to support the podcast.
Yeah, that's really incredible.
Yeah, it's made this year so much easier and affordable, but also just honored to work with such great companies. But the more you get into fishing, that stuff will come along too. And
yeah, definitely. Well, Barbara was one of the first people I, air quote, met on Instagram, and she just really has pushed me and supported me and encouraged me and given me so much confidence. And I guess she sees how involved I am with it and how passionate and absolutely. The love I have for it. Just it's been super healing, and to have that time on the water and to have something healthy to put my energy into, and my kids are following suit. They're starting to enjoy it, and it's something. David's got 2 kids, I've got 2 kids, so the 6 of us can enjoy it together. Not necessarily from the bass boat,
right?
A little crazy,
little much.
But from the dock, we it's a great thing for all 6 of us to bond and do together, and friendly family competitions pretty regularly. So
it's great.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Great. Well, it's great to introduce your kids to it too. That's kind of what got me into it, fishing as a kid and competing with my brother, and it just kind of sparked that competitive edge, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I kind of went to fishing tournaments, because that's like the ultimate, right?
Yeah, that's the perfect competition right there.
Yep.
My son caught a little largemouth bass right off the dock with a cricket not too long ago, and he reeled that thing in, and he said, "Oh, I'm ready to go to a tournament."
That's awesome. Whoa, Acorn just about hit us on the head here. So you got the camping, the backpacking, fishing thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which will be fun. Any other big fun adventures coming up?
The next big thing we have is in later October, we're going to go back to Pickwick. When we were there the last time, I cannot remember the name of the bait shop that's right there at McFarland, but it's a great bait shop, and the guy that owns it is super, super nice. And he told us that the smallmouth are really chomping the topwater in October. And so we were like, smallmouth and topwater?
Yeah.
Sign us up. So
awesome.
We made reservations, I think, that day to come back in October. And this was 3 months ago. So we're really looking forward to that.
Very cool. Pickwick's, I love that area too. It's just a really cool vibe in that area.
Yeah. That Muscle Shoals, music, kind of. It's a fun place. We really enjoy going there. And I've always, for some reason, that lake is my lucky lake. I don't know if it's a mental thing, because I caught that smallmouth on there, and so I'm just determined. But
I feel the same way, because the first year I fished with the Team Nashville Bassmasters, and that was my first ever tournament trail or whatever. My very first tournament, it was a team tournament, so you fish as a team with your boater.
Okay.
And I was on the back of the boat, of course. I drew one of the better anglers in our club, and we won first place.
Woo! Ooh,
So my very first tournament won first
start.
place, and it was Pickwick. So I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something so special about that lake, and I mean, I've had some really just spectacular experiences there that just haven't had. We have so many great lakes here and so many wonderful places to fish, but something about that place.
Well, very cool. Well, I thank you so much again for coming out and introducing yourself to the audience. I'll share your Instagram in the show notes so people can check it out.
Thank you so much.
Anywhere else they should go to follow you? Do you do like YouTube or anything?
I have a YouTube and I have a Facebook. I'm not nearly as active on those as I am on Instagram.
Have you gotten into the TikTok yet?
No, I cannot figure that one out. So,
Barbara's really getting into it. I'm like, wow, she's putting out some TikToks.
She is. They're cute. She's doing a good job. No, I can't. Like, I'm lucky to be figuring out Instagram. So, and I have it to like where my Instagram will link to my Facebook. So if you follow Instagram, it goes to Facebook as well. And I can't really. The Facebook page is not as easy to navigate.
I don't do well with. Honestly, like with the Woman Angler and Adventure Facebook page, I really don't do well with it. It's just, Facebook just makes it so hard.
Yeah,
and so I love the group, and I kind of focus all my attention on the Woman Angler group, and then Instagram, at least to promote the podcast episodes as they come out, and maybe some other stuff here and there. So I totally feel you about the page thing.
Yeah, and I do a little bit of YouTube. I really, when I started this whole thing, I was like, I really just want to pick one thing and focus on it and like get that figured out. And then maybe I can start, branching out a little bit more. So Instagram is where I'll interact back and forth with people a lot more. And it's been a blast being on there and meeting so many anglers and being able to have so many conversations and I've just met some incredible people that are just so supportive and cheer you on, and
it's great.
It's nothing like I expected it.
It's a great community. I've said it before, but I just love the fishing community, and especially women in fishing. Everybody seems so supportive of each other, which is great to see, and it's what we need to grow and invite more people to join us. And I look forward to seeing you at the weigh-ins.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, it should be all 6 of us.
Oh, cool.
So
Fun.
That's the plan anyway.
Very cool. I wish they had the Lincoln Landing done. Yeah. Still kind of under construction.
Okay.
So hopefully we get good crowds for the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun to get you to meet some of the ladies.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Hopefully I have some fish to weigh in.
You will.
Can walk across the stage. I'm feeling pretty good. But you never know what's going to happen out there. Yeah. But hopefully I'll be able to cross that stage, and I look forward to seeing you.
All right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that conversation, and I hope you'll join us next week where I'm going to introduce you to yet another amazing female angler out there, Jennifer Muse, and you're going to love her as well. So look forward to seeing you back here next week. Thanks again, everyone.